All right, we'll stay on the story, Celeste. Thank you. Crews are working around the clock to clean out the mold in more than 20 Alamance Burlington school buildings.
Now, even hearing the word mold doesn't sound good, but exactly how dangerous is the exposure to it? Fox 8's Sarah Winkleman spoke with a doctor at Cone Health for us today to get some of those answers. Sarah, what did you learn?
Well, Katie, he said that mold can be very dangerous to your lungs. There are some short-term impacts that you might have, experiencing symptoms like shortness of breath, itchy eyes, or a runny nose. But really the main concern when it comes to mold is those long-term impacts that you can experience after you're breathing in that mold for years and years.
I would see all mold as potentially dangerous. It all depends on the level of exposure.
Dr. Murali Ramaswamy works with patients who have experienced mold exposure, in some cases leading to a chronic lung disease known as pulmonary fibrosis.
Certainly, I've seen teachers in my practice who worked in school buildings years ago where there was mold exposure on a sustained basis, and they have this condition.
It can happen years or even decades after the exposure, but there's no definite answer about how long it takes for the damage to be done.
While it's not common, long-term damages from mold, the danger is real, and the main treatment is to get rid of the exposure.
That is why the countless hours spread over long days cleaning and remediating the mold is so crucial, and it has to be done right. Companies doing the cleaning also take several precautions to protect their workers, including masking and air filtration.
The presence of mold in buildings that's visible, that's coming through AC ducts because of damp environments is toxic in itself.
Right now, there is remediation happening at 26 school buildings across the Alamance Burlington school system. Several companies have been called in from across the country to help. Once they're done, Dr. Ramaswamy says parents should not be concerned sending their kids back into the school.
Once remediation is done and the mold is cleaned up, I think they can feel safe when the mold is cleaned up.
And as of today, Alamance Burlington schools say that they are still on track to start the new school year on Monday, which is September 11th. Live in Burlington, Sarah Winkleman, Fox 8 News.
All right, Sarah,
A woman in West Palm Beach has been fighting what she says is toxic mold for more than 3 years, and now she's fighting the city too.
She says they have stopped repair work months ago and they left her home in shambles. Kathleen O'Toole has this story that's new at 6. Kathleen?
Well, Carolyn Holmes thought her home was getting a major makeover through a City of West Palm Beach weatherization program. Instead, she says she has a house in mess and she's being told to take out a mortgage to make it all better.
Most people don't have to unzip their home. But then most people's homes don't look and smell like Carolyn Holmes's does.
I'm just totally disgusted with this situation.
In 2004, Holmes signed up for the City of West Palm's assistance in repairing the home she grew up in. She says the Department of Housing and Community Development hired the third lowest bidder to redo the roof, get them central air, and give new plumbing.
I moved back in, nothing has changed except for they put carpet on the floor and they put in the AC unit.
It was livable, says Holmes, until 2008 when playful kids had an accident with her wheelchair.
And they pushed it into the wall there and knocked a hole in the wall.
Mold was in the walls. It soon grew on the walls. Holmes says it was growing in the new carpet.
I wouldn't even treat my dog like that.
Carolyn says finding out that she had mold in the home is one thing, but finding out how long the city knew exact details about the mold, quite another.
My client asked for what was going on. She wasn't told.
Patrick Cousins is representing Holmes in her lawsuit against the city and the contractor. A spokesman for the city couldn't comment on the lawsuit, but Cousins says they had a report about the mold for nearly a year and didn't share it.
Around 10 months. If you have information in your hand for 10 months, knowing that somebody's living in a condition that could be detrimental to their health, I think that whoever has that information has a responsibility to turn that over.
I'm just heartbroken. I trusted them to do what they said they were going to do.
Now, Holmes says the city paid her rent elsewhere, but now doesn't want to until she agrees to pay for repairs by taking out a mortgage on a home that's owned free and clear. Late today, in a statement the city released, it says it has and is willing to rehabilitate the property. For over a year, the city had been waiting for the homeowner to execute certain contract documents which would allow the city to rehabilitate the property through one of our programs. They also went on to say without a contract with the homeowner, the city would be unable to continue to pay relocation expenses, including rent, utilities, storage, and other living expenses. Now the city has asked the court to dismiss this lawsuit. Kathleen O'Toole, WPBF 25.
And now continuing our coverage of the closure of the courthouse, we found out how the exposure to mold could impact your health. 22 News reporter Jillian Andrews is live in Springfield tonight. And Jillian, you spoke with an expert about the consequences of being exposed to it for long periods of time.
That's right, Sydney, and he told me that mold is becoming a growing issue in the area and has been for the last 10 years, which isn't surprising since 22 News has reported on the environmental problems inside the courthouse in the past. This mold inspection expert said it didn't take a lot for mold to grow. All it needs is the right temperature, humidity, and a food source. Food sources can be anything from drywall to carpets, and that people who think they've been exposed to mold should definitely go see a doctor.
You can also do a general mold test in the doctor's office that will tell them that they're allergic to certain types of mold. And that's the best way to start to get healed, is to know what you're up against and then try to get environments that don't have that in it.
According to the CDC, for some people, mold can cause a stuffy nose, sore throat, coughing or wheezing, burning eyes, or skin rash. People with asthma or who are allergic to mold may also have severe reactions. One way to help prevent mold coming into your home is to open windows and keep doors open for short periods of time, or to use fans or dehumidifiers. Working for you in Springfield, Jillian Andrews, 22 News.
Mold. Long after a hurricane is gone, this insidious health hazard stays. It grows and spreads easily, and it has to be dealt with properly. So the question is, how do I remove mold after a hurricane? I'm in Seabright, New Jersey with Matt Jaffe. He's a mold specialist, and this house was infested with mold after Hurricane Sandy.
You can actually see the water level from Sandy.
So the ocean came in here and the water rose that high. That's seawater there?
That's correct, yep.
Wow. When you come into a house like this, what's the very first thing you do?
What we want to do before we start is take all the valuables we can, wipe them down, move them into the attic. We're going to seal that area off. That keeps the mold from getting up there.
So you're going to contain the mold to down here and get the clean stuff up there.
That's correct.
All right. Now, why wouldn't you just put bleach over that? It seems like you put bleach on there and you kill the mold.
Bleach will burn mold. Bleach isn't going to get rid of mold. An antimicrobial is what you need.
All right. But because the mold gets in the sheetrock, is that what you're saying?
That's right. It's going to grow on this side, it's going to go through it, and it's going to end up on the other side.
And now we got to test for moisture. Let's do that over here.
It's a very simple meter to use. Okay, we apply it to the wall. Those pins actually stick through the sheetrock. Okay, now that we test it,
it's
red.
Okay.
Wet. Okay, if we come up here a little higher, we're testing that, we're at yellow, we're okay. So what that tells me is we've got to remove from here down throughout the entire house, most likely.
All right, Matt, good tips. So remember, separate anything that hasn't been contaminated by mold and seal off those areas. Use an antimicrobial, not bleach, and use a moisture meter to determine what's wet and has to be removed.
All right, Bobby, thanks so much. Tonight, 5 families from MacDill Air Force Base who say their health was impacted by mold are suing the private management company and the owner of housing at MacDill. It comes the day before Senate lawmakers are set to hear testimony from the heads of all branches of the service on the status of privatized military housing nationwide. Now, families claim this dates back to at least 2016. This month, 10 Investigates' Courtney Robinson exposed top Air Force leadership's #1 concern was mold related to construction quality and leaks.
It impacted our life. It impacted his job, the way he was able to perform at work. He began to struggle with the physical aspects. PTE couldn't deploy. I honestly didn't even think about it, to tell you the truth, that it would be a possibility of mold.
The Genricks are part of this lawsuit. Jenny Genrick says her husband has been so impacted by exposure to mold that it's affected his career. Now, Courtney Robinson spoke tonight with the head of the company that manages housing on MacDill. He told her he was aware a federal suit had been filed, has not seen it, and cannot talk about a legal matter. He did say that they still continue to take care of families at MacDill, and when an issue does arise, they try to resolve it. Now, Senator Marco Rubio told us tonight that he's committed to safe and healthy living, as you saw on the screen there. Conditions for our military, and will continue to hold landlords accountable for unacceptable and dangerous living conditions. By the way, if you want to see other stories on the mold problem, you can find it on WTSP.com. 10 Investigates did a great series on it.
Adams County Court Board has taken another step to address mold in the courthouse.
Board members met tonight for the first time since receiving a second opinion surrounding mold in the building. And WGEM's Raja Maples is here to show us what those results revealed. Raja.
It made several recommendations, including a surprising and unexpected source of mold, houseplants. Testers recommended removing those plants throughout the courthouse. The report revealed that most of them either had mold in them or on the carpet around them from watering. The Adams County Board voted to formally adopt that recommendation. That means employees will be asked to remove all houseplants from every room in the courthouse.
We want to keep our employees safe as we can. We're just still chipping away at it. This stuff takes time. Even the report said from Safe Start, it might take 2 or 3 years, but we're moving. We're charging ahead. We're getting things cleaned up as quick as we can.
Now, the new report also revealed the sub-basement that you're looking at here on your screen of the courthouse to have the most mold problems. Building Chair Dave Bellis says that steps have already been taken to address that area. He says more work is planned in the near future for that problem spot, including professionally cleaning the walls and building new shelves. Mackenzie.
All right, thank you so much, Raja. And you can find the full report on our website, WGEM.com.